This is the part about manifestation
Yes.
that I want to talk about. That,
Yes.
yeah, in manifestation, it's so important to get clear on what you want. And I totally believe in this, right? Having clarity in at least something that you want to aim towards is really, really important. But something that's not often talked about is that some of our best manifestations, we can't even fathom what they are. So we can't even get clear about what they are because they're going to be opportunities through people, through going places. There's going to be opportunities that we get to decide if we say yes or no to that weren't even part of our plan, but they're part of the ultimate vision. And so, like, for example,
Yeah.
it's right now I'm the co-founder of a tech company called Cohere, and it was never on my vision board to have to be like a tech founder, for example, right? But it's been an opportunity that has expanded me beyond anything that I ever thought that I could do. And so it's really expanded me to think bigger. And so when I think about it, I'm like, I didn't necessarily manifest it consciously, but it's been one of the greatest opportunities of my life. And so same thing with like relationships, right? Sometimes we don't know what we want until we're actually presented the opportunity. And it's kind of our responsibility to be open enough and like in tune with our intuition enough to say yes to these opportunities.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Share the Rescue podcast. I'm always honored that you're tuning in, watching, and connecting. And I'm so honored that you're here. Truly, I am. I'm not taking it for granted. And I'm so honored to have this beautiful guest that is part of the conversation that I had. Her name is Anette SkyeOran, and she's actually my coach and mentor because we met on a common and group coaching program, ICM. And it was such an honor to have her on my podcast for her to share her own journey around how she became who she is today. And also that we dive into law of attraction, manifestation. So yeah, I would love for you to listen to this. It will inspire you so much to apply the laws of manifestation, that not only to read different tools, but to also take aligned action. So let's go into it. Oh my God, Annette, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for us to do this finally. Such an honor. Ah,
I'm so
so
grateful. Yeah.
yeah, so now that I've done some conversations on podcasts, and whenever I ask who are you, they share about their like they are a coach or they are work with the work what they're doing, but they're also like I know in Brazil when you ask someone how are you doing, it's more like or who are you. They don't ask what are you doing, they're asking more like what do you like, so that they know what you like if they have something common. So when I'm asking who are Annette, I want
Yeah.
to know who are Annette before we start, because you are a coach and you are
Mm.
everything like very beautiful. And I know you're from ICM, such a wonderful coach and mentor. You helped me so much. But yeah, I would
Uh,
love to hear more about who is Annette.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful to be here. So thank you so much for having me on. And I'm so grateful that we met through ICM and that we've had such beautiful connections in that community. So I'm really grateful to be here. And so I'm Annette. So when you ask me who is Annette, if I were to describe myself, without the titles, I would say I am love. I am abundance. I am a beautiful light in the world. And that's, I mean, what comes up first. But really, when it comes to what I do is I am a business mentor. I'm a founder of a tech company called Cohere.live. And what my mission and current, way that I support humanity is I love helping people share their gifts with the world and create a business online that supports their impact and their livelihood and their passions and just really creating a life and business that they're absolutely obsessed with. That's my goal.
So beautiful. Well said about who you are, the light, really. I mean, you can feel it when you talk to you, like it's like you're shining. But really, I would love to hear more about what made you enter into this personal and spiritual development field? Like, what happened for you? What inspired you to become a coach and mentor?
I love this question because, whenever somebody asks me like about my journey, sometimes I'm like, where do I even begin? Because there's so much. But if I were to like look back to my childhood, I always felt growing up like I was the black sheep in the family. And I don't know if anybody who's listening can relate to that, but just kind of feeling like the outsider, not really fitting in with the family, just feeling a little bit like, I don't know if you guys have that term black sheep, just meaning that you don't feel like you belong.
Mhm.
You don't feel the same as everybody else in your family. And so it creates a little bit of like, when you're growing up, at least it can create a little bit of a disconnect of like, what's wrong with me? Is there something wrong with me? Why am I not fitting in the same way everybody else is? And so that actually is what really inspired my personal development journey. If I really take a look back, because growing up, I had the story of like not feeling good enough because again, of the story of like I don't fit in, I don't feel good enough. So that was like a core wound that I, was blessed with, I guess, in this lifetime, so that I could be on a personal development journey. I really believe that a lot of those things that come up for us, they're for us because they're meant to guide us on our path that we're meant to go on. And so when I was little, and I felt like this. One of the first things that I started diving into to better understand myself was astrology.
Wow.
Astrology and manifestation. Those were the first two things. It was actually astrology first. My brother had gifted me a book on astrology because I was always talking about, at the time I was young, so I was maybe 10 years old. I would like read horoscopes and things like that. And so my brother ended up getting me an astrology book and I fell in love. I'm like, this is seeing me. Like I feel
Yeah,
seen,
exactly.
and I started really, that was kind of like my gateway to personal development, was understanding myself through astrology and then understanding others and, my family's differences through astrology. And then a few years later, my mom actually read the book, The Secret, and she gifted it to me. And she said, I think you're going to love this book. You're into astrology, you're into this, like, you need to read this. And so I read the book. For those of you who don't know The Secret, I think everybody does, but it's all about manifestation, the law of attraction, right? And so as soon as I read that, I was like, this makes total sense. I am meant to do something along these lines where I'm inspiring people to create the lives that they want. It just like opened up my mind. And so I decided to test out what was in The Secret, which was all about the law of attraction and your mindset. And I started kind of testing this out in my day-to-day life. And so I decided to sign up for the track team in my high school. At this point, I was in high school.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and I always loved to run. So I was like, I'm going to join the track team. And I had no idea if I was going to be even good, but I was like, I know about the law of attraction. So since I'm going to join the track team, I'm going to do everything in my power to be the best that I could be because I know the law of attraction works. And so that was like my first experiment. I was like, let me see how good this stuff works.
No, it's not about only to read, but experience that. Wow, you took it to the next level already.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's how I learn. I'm like, I like to learn through life experiences. And so I'm like, I'm going to test this out. If I practice everything that they're telling me to do when it relates to, track and field, let me see how far I can get. And I actually ended up, being like the top track star in my high school for like all 3 years that I did track. I
Wow.
ended up going to finals, California finals, ending, or San Diego finals, sorry, not full California, but ending third place in all of San Diego. Like it was just very wild to me that I was like, this stuff works. And so later on, I graduated high school and then I applied that to the next level. I was like, I really want to live in a different country. So I moved to Canada for college. And I was applying the law of attraction throughout all of this.
Wow.
And I was teaching all of my friends about it. I'm like, this stuff works. You have to shift your mindset. You have to believe in what you want. You have to do your affirmations. And so I kept on exploring it in different ways. And one of the ways that really shifted my career, I would say, is when I decided to step into the fitness industry. I
Mm-hmm.
was competing in fitness competitions, and basically I tested it again. I'm like, let's see if the, I mean, I know this stuff works, but I remember telling, at that time, the universe, God, whatever we believe in, I said, if I'm meant to teach this and like go on this path of really helping people create the life that they want, I want you to give me everything that I need to succeed in fitness so that I can kind of be a role model for people and prove to people that, like, hey, I did this, you could do it too with any area of your life. I remember saying that declaration. I'm like, if this works, and I win this, at the time it was like an IFBB Pro kind of card, like competition in Canada. It's like a world known federation for fitness. But I said, if I win this, this stuff works, and I'm meant to teach this. And then I did my first, competition. I ended up, there's like levels. You win
Yeah.
the region, and then you win the state championship, and then you win the country. And so I won the bikini champion of Canada, and then I got my pro card. And so I was like so convinced. I'm like, this stuff works. I ended up landing in fitness magazines and just going, full force fitness. And to make a long story short, my whole path, if I look back, was astrology was one of the gateways of understanding myself. Manifestation and law of attraction and the secret and just all of those concepts was like the mindset work that I needed to really apply it.
Mhm.
And then the experience of like testing it out and going after things that I'm passionate about
Yes.
and seeing how far I could go and succeed in those areas has always been really fun for me. So now I like to help other people do that too.
Yeah. And for fitness, and now you are a business mentor within the personal development.
Yes, and I kind of ended on the fitness note, but from there, life eventually I was like, I'm not as passionate about fitness anymore. What am I passionate about? And what I noticed is I've always been really passionate about helping people get clear on their ideal life, their vision, what they want in their lives. And so that led to me getting certified as a life coach, becoming a life coach, really helping people get clear on what they wanted to create in their lives.
Mhm.
And organically, a lot of my clients who came to me ended up wanting to start businesses. And so they were like, I want to do whatever you're doing, Annette. I want to create, a social media brand, and I want to really create programs and help empower women. And so that led me to stepping into a business mentorship role. And then later on, this is the part about manifestation
Yes.
that I want to talk about.
Yes.
That yeah, in manifestation, there's it's so important to get clear on what you want. And I
Mhm.
totally believe in this, right? Having clarity in at least something that you want to aim towards is really, really important. But something that's not often talked about is that some of our best manifestations, we can't even fathom what they are. So we can't even get clear about what they are because they're going to be opportunities through people, through going places. There's going to be opportunities that we get to decide if we say yes or no to that weren't even part of our plan, but they're part of the ultimate vision. And so, like, for example,
Yeah.
right now I'm the co-founder of a tech company called Cohere, and it was never on my vision board to have to be like a tech founder, for example, right? But it's been an opportunity that has expanded me beyond anything that I ever thought that I could do. And so it's really expanded me to think bigger. And so when I think about it, I'm like, I didn't necessarily manifest it consciously, but it's been one of the greatest opportunities of my life. And so same thing with like relationships, right? Sometimes we don't know what we want until we're actually presented the opportunity, and it's kind of our responsibility to be open enough and like in tune with our intuition enough to say yes to these opportunities. And so that's one thing with manifestation that I realize is that it's not all like you don't need to have every detail of your vision crystallized. You just need to be clear enough to know at least what you're aiming towards. But then let the universe surprise you with the rest.
So what you're really saying is that if you have a goal, so
for instance, your goal is the seed, and when you take the action of watering the seed, then you don't know what type of flower you will get or this tree you will get. You would just take the action. So law of attraction or manifestation is not sitting and meditating all day. You have to take action, and the opportunities will come to you.
Exactly. It's always in the action that the opportunities start to land in,
Mm,
right? So it's like you're telling the universe you're in this energy of making things happen. And so for me, a lot of manifestations come through people. It's actually in my astrology part too. And so relationships are a big thing for me, right? So I've noticed a lot of business opportunities, a lot of like things come through relationships. And so
mm,
yeah, it's just being in the action so that you know where you're headed. Because if you don't know where you're headed, you can get an opportunity that actually derails you, that's not part of your vision at all. Right. So it's like knowing what to say yes to is important.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
do find that when you're in aligned action and you're already on the path towards what you want, you're typically in alignment. And so the universe is kind of sending you opportunities to like expand on whatever path you're already on.
So beautiful. I just want to rewind a bit when you said like you felt like a black sheep in your family, but I feel like somehow your brother saw you in a way, like you were different, and then he was like, "Oh, she's made into this." When he saw this astrology book, and then he gave it to you. So he always saw you. And then your mother read this law of attraction, and she felt like I think Annette will love this book. And she also saw you. Like sometimes when you feel different, you feel like you are not being seen, but people see you.
Totally. And if I reflect back, I 1000% feel like I'm so close with my family. And
Yeah.
I'm like, they didn't do anything wrong. I was just, I really think I was meant to experience those feelings
Mm,
so that it could propel me on the path that I'm on now. Right.
exactly.
Because I am very, like different from my family. And now I see that as an empowering thing, and even astrologically, they're all earth signs. They're very grounded. They're very like, you know, stability, things
Mhm.
like that, right? Which I love. I'm a fire sign. So
You're
of course I felt
fine.
different, right? Of course I felt different. I'm like wanting to try things out,
Mm,
experience them, get messy, like, you know what I mean? So
okay.
it's, yeah, like looking back, and I think this is so important for us to do. It's like we attract, I do believe we attract the parents and the family that we need to in order to fulfill our karmic destiny in this lifetime. And so if you're born feeling like the black sheep, I actually feel like you're meant to be born feeling kind of like that so that it could propel you to want to discover more about yourself, to
Mm.
really put you on the path that you're meant to be on. That's my belief, at least, is that we choose our family on some level, and that we have this opportunity to either come from an empowered mindset instead of like, why is this happening to me? This is always happening for me. So how can I really, utilize this opportunity to be a better person in the world?
Yeah, so when did that mindset come to you? Because you said you felt like you were not good enough, but when did that shift for you? That life is for you, and this was something that was meant for me, so that I can become who I am today.
I love this question. You're so good at these questions. I love this, babe. So, yeah, I feel like if I really look back, it's always like, whenever we all have these core wounds,
Mm,
right? And I feel like there's times in our lives where it's like it starts to kind of like break away, but it's still there, right? And so it's almost like through the life journeys, you kind of start to untangle it. So I feel like the first way that I started to untangle it was understanding myself through astrology and manifestation. Um, and then I was like, oh, I feel empowered. Like I actually know that I could go after my goals and achieve. It's like that was like the first level, just like believing in myself,
mm,
right?
mm,
Number one. And then I would say after that, like the first level was like through achievement,
mm,
but then it would show up in like relationships,
mm,
maybe not smart enough, right? And so I love this quote by David Crone. He says, life will present you with people and experiences to reveal where you're not free. And so I think life, and I love that quote so much because it's like life was first showing me that maybe through like achievement and like goals and like believing in myself. But then later on, it showed up in relationships, not feeling good enough in relationships. And
Mm.
so I would attract, and I always had, I would always attract really, really intelligent, highly educated men. Like even my husband, he's like a PhD, he's like super smart, and then what would that trigger in me? I'm not smart enough, and so it would
Oh,
trigger that feeling.
okay,
And
okay.
so that was like another opportunity for me. Like I even get teary-eyed like remembering that because that was like another opportunity for me to dive deeper of like, oh, this is another thing to untangle. Right. And then so
Oh,
then kind of working through that and of course being like now that doesn't really show up for me. Maybe rarely it does, but not as much as it like used to. And then it later on would show up in like, abundance or like how much I'm working, I'm not doing enough, right? And so
mm,
that enough
mm,
story is like a very core story for a lot of people. So it's like first bringing awareness of what your core
exactly.
story is, and then seeing where in your life are you presented these opportunities to bring love and like acceptance to that part that feels that. We know through ICM and through the work that we've done, it's
Mm,
like not about fighting it off or wishing it wasn't there. It's about really witnessing it, bringing presence to it, and like allowing space to fully feel it
mm,
and be with it. And through that, when we are not getting as triggered or like we're not resisting it, it naturally does start to dissipate, right? It's like you could actually have space for it when it shows up.
mm, mm. So
Yeah.
beautifully said,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say it never shows up anymore. It does, but it's very like it's different than
Mm,
it used to be. It's no longer like blocking me from going after something that I want. Like I'm gonna go after it and it maybe will show up in different ways. You know what I mean? Of like,
yeah.
you know,
It's more like you can see those blocks as more, you can view it as more with compassion. Like, okay, I see you now. Okay, let's have a conversation. And then you like integrate it to love it as well, be part of you. And then you become bigger than the problem. And then you go after your goals.
exactly. And even like with my brother, like once I shifted that within me and I no longer felt this comparison with my brother, my brother is like, I always say this, which it sounds weird to people, but I'm like, he's like a soulmate. Like my brother is like one of my favorite humans in the world. Like if you were to ask me who do I admire most, I'd be like my brother because of the way that he
Is
is,
he,
right?
he's old, early.
He's older.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just so wise. He actually became an astrologer and like all he has his own really beautiful path. So when I look back at like how I used to feel, kind of like I always felt like my parents favored my brother, things like that, the not good enough story, right? But now, since I shifted that in internally brought acceptance to it, I should say, my brother acknowledges me so much of like, Annette, you've always been such an expander for me because of everything that you do and you go out into the world and like, you know what I mean? And so it's really beautiful that we have like this reverence for like each other's differences and how we've like complemented each other in this journey. It's
Wow.
really cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yes, and then I have like been following you, your journey, because you love manifestation and law of attraction and like you take action, align action. But I've been following you where you traveled to Europe, and I wanted to share a bit more about that, your experience and what if you feel like you have, experienced more awakening within yourself, if you learn yourself even more, because you live in the United States, but you came to Europe and you stayed here for a while. I want you to share a little bit for my audience about that trip, and maybe it will inspire people to travel even more.
Absolutely. I love this question because we're talking a lot about vision on this trip. And one of the things that I always like envisioned in my life when I started to get into like, again, law of attraction and just in general, like creating a vision for what I wanted, I always had it on my, dream list to be able to work from anywhere. Very
Yes.
important. Work
Yeah.
from anywhere, make money doing something that I love, that I feel like is making an impact, and
Mm.
then also traveling the world. Like if there was one thing, I was always like, I just want to see like the entire world. Like that's me. And I'm also a Sagittarius, which apparently is like very in line with that. So this year, yeah, this year. So like backtrack a little bit. So when I met my husband, Paul, I told him, I said, he had been living in Arizona pretty much his whole life since he was 9 years old. And I told him, I said, I love Arizona, but I think at some point we should move. We should experience more, especially before we have kids. Like, let's go,
Mm.
like, explore the world. And he always has loved travel, and he did a lot of traveling more than I had. And so he was like, maybe we like do summer trips and we explore that way. And I was like, that totally works too. Let's, we have a great community in Phoenix. Let's just explore on our summers. And then this year, so I had planted the seed. Oh, I also had planted the seed that I always wanted to be a digital nomad. I said, there's something in me that I literally feel like I don't need one home. I can have like many homes all over the world.
Yeah, beautiful.
He's more grounded. And so he was like, I like having like my home base, my office, all the things. And so, long story short, this year, he had this whole moment. He just turned 40. And so I think he had this whole like new era timeline shift where he was like, whoa, I've been living in Arizona for over 30 years. I'm 40. Yes, like we're building our business, doing the things we love, but like this is the time. If we're going to do something crazy like move abroad, let's do it. And so he came to me with that idea. And I was like, I had like let go of the timeline of if this was ever going to happen. I hadn't even like it wasn't even in my awareness anymore. I was like, we just travel in the summers, we go to Europe. Nope. He's like, let's either sell our home or rent our home for a year and just live abroad. And that was like my biggest dream. I was like, yes, immediately, instant yes.
Oh,
And so we put our place up for rent. It didn't rent, but I'm like, we're gonna go anyway. We're gonna trust. This is a big thing when you're going after a vision. It doesn't always align exactly like you want it to, but you have to trust. And so we trusted. And so we left in May. We officially, packed our entire home. We put it into storage. We packed like 6 bags and we went off to Europe. And right now, the goal is pretty much a whole year. We're digital nomads.
exactly.
So we're digital, whatever. I don't even like the word nomad. We're like digital, I don't know, we need a new word for it. Like we're just traveling the world and living abroad. And
Mm.
so we've done Barcelona, Valencia, Spain, Lisbon, Portugal, the UK. We did a little traveling around, a little bit of Canada, south of Spain, Ibiza, and now we're back in the US and we're going to host a retreat in Arizona soon. But then we're going back to Europe in November.
Okay.
So it's been like to back to your question. I love your question about awakening. I really feel like has awakened this new energy in me.
Mm.
And I even noticed that over the last few months, I feel like I've been called to almost like step into like this new identity. Like I'm still in the middle of like figuring out this next level version of me and what that looks like. I really don't know yet, but I'm creating the vision for her slowly. And she definitely lives in Europe because she loves Europe.
Okay. Wow, so beautiful.
And I love just like starting my mornings a little bit like more relaxing, like just the lifestyle in Europe. I
Mm.
personally really like the schedule since we work with a lot of people in the US. I like being able to start my day a little bit earlier and like even if I end a little bit late. So I like the flexibility and like the nervous system, how calm it feels for
Oh.
me in Europe has been like everything. Because
Mm.
in the US, and I don't ever want to say anything bad about the US because the US is amazing. It's like obviously one of, the best countries to live in. And if you live in a city, there is a lot of things that in my opinion don't always feel safe. One
Mm.
of those, not to go there, but one of those is the fact that guns are legal, and so like that just feels
Mm.
freaky.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
tell my European friends that I'm like, it just feels creepy when you're like, oh yeah. That's just, you see somebody at Starbucks with a gun.
Mm,
Totally normal.
wow,
Like
wow.
totally normal. So, and again, not to go political, but like for me, walking around and like feeling safe as a woman in a city, I
Mm,
feel that 100%. I mean, obviously not everywhere in Europe, but like the cities in that we've been to in Spain, in Portugal, like we feel very at home and at peace. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be on the cards for this next year. And I'm excited to see what that brings us and just, yeah, expanding the European community and just really living a more in sync and like expansive life somewhere different. Just experiencing something different, I think is very expansive.
beautiful. So what I'm hearing is that you feel like Europe is bringing you inner peace, like calmness into your nervous system. And as having a calm nervous system, you can manifest better as well. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
1000%. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really into astrocartography. I actually just interviewed somebody on my podcast that talks about like the different cities in the world and how it relates to your
Just
astrology.
care about
And
that.
yeah, and Phoenix for me
Mm,
is really powerful for business, but it's also very masculine. And so when I living in Phoenix, great for networking, business, but honestly, like I get burnt out there because I work too much. Like, and that's just like the nervous system of the city, especially we live like downtown, is it's like an intense energy. And so I'm excited to just experience more feminine energies, what it feels like to me in Spain and Portugal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. So
Oh,
what's the name of
yeah.
the thing you shared? Astrology.
Astrocartography.
Okay.
Oh, good. And it basically you input your information like the same way you would to get your astrology, but it shows you could do it on like astro.com or, I'm gonna have somebody on my podcast that does this. I'm gonna do a whole reading with her. But basically it shows you all of these lines in the world and like shows you where, there's alignment in terms of like your planets and things like that.
Meaning the planets or meaning your sorry, the earth where you live in the world and how you can
Yeah.
manifest better.
Exactly. Yeah. So it shows you, like, for example, exactly. Like, so for me, if anybody's into astrology here, my Mars line is through Phoenix, and it's also in my house of Scorpio, which is Mars is very much like action, Scorpio, that energy of Scorpio. So like I have that energy in Phoenix. In Spain, like I basically have my sun line, which is very magnetic. It's very yeah, it's very like it's great for opportunities and connecting and like it's a more feminine kind of the way I would describe it is like magnetic energy and I totally feel that when I'm in Spain and Portugal. And so it's fun to know this, but then also experience it. Going back to like the true way of knowing if something's true or not, whether it's manifestation, whether it's a new tool, it's like test
Mm,
it out for yourself, and like see if it resonates and lands for you. But
yeah,
I
I
really
love this really, this conversation where you're saying like there are different tools, but it's not enough to just read it and just, okay, you need to test it out, you need to live it. And also, like you said, you have to listen to your intuition. There will come opportunities, but you have to be aware if it's like opportunity that will evolve you, go to the next level, or it will like show you where you need to grow.
exactly. Yes, and that's it. Yeah, it's just like staying open and exploring, right? So,
So beautiful.
yeah, but I'm excited and I'm gonna be, closer to you at some point. We need to meet up somewhere in Europe, or I need to go to Sweden and meet you in real life. It's gonna be
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it
I
would be so beautiful. I mean, like, it would be so wonderful to meet you face to face. It's so beautiful that we met online on the ICM group. And I was like, I just want to see your energy is so contagious. You say that? Very like, like the sun. So,
know.
yeah, so beautiful.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
Nat. But
it.
I mean, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Is there anything else you want to share, or last thing you want to share before we end this conversation today?
Yeah, I've loved our conversation, and I hope this message, just like seeing where the conversation led, I hope it inspires people to Number one, have a clear vision for something that you really want to accomplish in your life because where focus goes, energy flows. I always say that. And so know what you want with as much clarity as you want. Even if it's just like, I want to start a brand or I want to, but be passionate about something that you're aiming toward. It's reminding me so much the power of that as I shared my story and like, connected the dots. And then also really work on, like, I know we talked about energy and your nervous system and like your belief in yourself.
Mm, yeah.
And really working, I hope everybody feels inspired to really believe in yourself of what is possible. And I always go back to manifestation principles and just like how when we clear things from the inside out, we are more magnetic to the things that we desire on the outside. And so remember that. And then number three, be open to the miracles, be open to the opportunities as you're on your path of aligned action, stay open to receiving opportunities from people, from places, experiences that you can say yes to that propel you forward even more in the direction that you're meant to go. Because we only know what we know, and there's so much that we don't know about what we're meant to accomplish in this lifetime.
Just one last question. How do you stay open? Because, when you wait for something, you can get like frustrated, nothing is happening, or you get so angry. So how can you really stay open? Just a little hack
Yeah.
of keeping yourself open to opportunities and not rush into something that you want.
I love this so much. I really feel like it comes down to your energy or like anybody here who's listening, like energy in general. So whenever I feel stuck, because that does come up sometimes, I'm like, wait, have I been moving? What is my energy field like? Right? And have I been moving my body? Have I been having like a clear vessel? Have I been meditating? Have I been connecting to God have I been connecting to with people, like the things that give me energy. And so once I notice I start to do that, all of a sudden my energy kind of starts radiating outward and you're in that magnetic field. And from that place, you are more open and you will receive more ideas, a whisper from someone. It could even be a stranger, right? That like you meet at a coffee shop and they're like, "Oh, hey, have you ever heard about this?" And you're like, "That's interesting. That really caught my attention." That was maybe a message. And so now when you're in that magnetic energy and field, then you start receiving more. And then, you can actually hear it because if we're just kind of like our energy field's low, we might be receiving downloads, but like we can't even, they're not even getting to us.
Yeah, what came to me is like you become like you're like a radio, and if you don't, you're in low frequency, just sit on the sofa and just hoping to get that thing happening. But it's like so many sounds everywhere, you can't hear anything. Just sitting there, you won't manifest anything really. But if you move your body, you set the right tone, the nice music, being happy, meeting people, then become open to everything. You widen your perspective, everything changes, and then you become more coherent. Like I
Yeah.
love the company name Cohere, like you cohere, you see every opportunity and possibilities come up for you. So I love that so much.
Exactly. And I even noticed with this conversation, I started it was kind of like I started my day a little bit late today, so I was a little bit like I didn't get my meditation in, but I was like, I know the moment I connect with you, we're going to connect and we're going to have the best conversation and I set that intention. And I don't know about you, but like my energy feels like a 10 now after our conversation. Do you feel that?
Me too. I feel so like really high. I'm so happy that this conversation we made it, and yeah, so much love for
Yeah,
you,
thank you
Annette.
so much, Charity. I appreciate you. And I hope everybody feels inspired to, again, just be in that magnetic energy and go after your goals and dreams and like make the most of this lifetime.
Yeah. Before we end, where can people find you? Because you have this beautiful business of helping people become themselves and build their businesses. So where can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Absolutely. My favorite place is Instagram. So you could just find me at Anette SkyeOran. And then if you are a coach and you're listening to this and you're looking for a platform or resources and tools to grow your business online, check out cohere.live. And that is our platform, and we support, through tech, but then also through coaching and mentorship to help coaches spread their gifts, make an impact, and grow a business online.
So beautiful, Anna. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Carrie. I'm so honored.
Thank
You
you.
take care.
I hope you have a beautiful day, and thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna. Thank you.
So I hope you enjoyed the conversation that I had with Anette SkyeOran, and she's such a sunlight in human form, truly. And I hope you're very inspired to connect with her. She's really good at what she's doing. She has helped me so much around my own journey of being a coach. So I will leave all the links where you can connect with Anette on the show notes, and I really hope that you are inspired to connect with her, like I said. And yeah, I truly, as always, as I say, that I hope that you will make sure that you bring your heaven down to earth, because really manifestation is really to attract your inherent worth, your inherent wealth, your inherent abundance. So you bring your heaven down to earth, do all that you can to do the inner work for you to be the best version of yourself, and to bring your own heaven down to earth, your dreams, your visions and dreams, make come to life. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and see you on the next episode. You take care. Hey, so thank you so much for tuning in to this beautiful episode. And a cost-free way for you to support this podcast is if you're tuning in on YouTube, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you're tuning in listening on Spotify,